Welcome back, my loyal subscribers. Today we're talking about something many of us photographers are guilty of: gear acquisition syndrome. How to keep your gas inside. And please understand, we're talking about gear acquisition syndrome, not holding your gas. Don't do that, you'll blow up. So I get it, we're all human. We love to have things. We love to give gifts to ourselves that no one else is gonna get for us. We love collecting and gathering shit we don't need all the time. I'm guilty of it, and many of you photographers are guilty for it. So I have 5 tips that I have learned over the last 3 to 4 years of doing photography and videography to help you address the gas that always wants to come out, but you gotta hold it in. So number 1, you gotta do your research. If you're starting off, define what it is you want. What is that camera? What is that lens that you need to do the work that you want to do, your vision? Remember, exploring beyond that is fine, but that's what we have renting for or borrowing from a friend, or going to the camera store and getting familiar with the tools. But remember, if you're starting off, you want to define what you want to do. That way, you get just what you need. Number 2, try setting a limit. Maybe it's an expense amount, like a cost, or however many times a year or per month or whatever you want to go out and actually research to buy something. How often do you want to invest in your gear? Is something very simple that you can just sit down and think about and say, I'm going to limit myself to buying these 2 or these 3 lenses this year. And you set a schedule and you do it. Number 3, it's okay to trade up. And as a photographer starting off, I remember 3 years or 4 years ago, not being able to purchase those high-end, high-performance lenses that you want for the work you want to do, such as wedding photography or portraiture, where you need those 1.4s, those 2.8 zooms. Those aren't always affordable, and those are not always your first lenses that you'll be able to buy. So, as a beginner, I think it's okay for you to buy the more budget alternative, use it for what it's worth and the value it has, learn how to work around the limitations, but always keep in mind that you can upgrade by selling that and getting rid of it to get what you actually want. And if you keep that in mind, kind of like a one in, one out type of approach for zoom lenses or key prime lenses that you want, like let's say you get an 85-1.8, use it, and when you have enough to saved, plus whatever you can get for selling that lens, you get the 1.4. If you keep this in mind, it's going to help a lot to plan your purchases and get what you actually want. So this leads into number 4, getting what you actually want. Let's say you're a year in and you've purchased 5 lenses. Take a look at what you do, look at your work. How many have you actually used consistently, and which ones have been left on the shelf or in your camera bag because of that just in case, or they're not as dynamic for the work you do that you thought it would be. Don't keep things that you don't use unless you're trying to collect. But as a professional, as a photographer who's starting up and who could probably use that cash that's stored in that item to get that zoom lens that you actually need, it's okay to let go, trade it in, cash that purchase in that you don't use, and use that more effectively. Unless you have endless dough, make sure you use what you buy. Finally, this has been a very important one for myself, and I don't know if any of you do this, but before you buy something or you're planning to buy something, I would say consult with someone that you trust, someone that knows you well, someone that understands and cares about your passions and your interests. In my case, it's my wife, but for you, maybe a friend or another fellow photographer. And go through the run-through of what's going on in your mind, of that purchase you want to make, that trade. What makes this next item worth it for you to get? And that kind of helps you talk it out and identify whether you should get it or not. And this will really help you not overspend money or overbuy things that you don't really need. So this is very short. I just wanted to give a couple tips because I know we see these great deals come in and out, used lenses or brand new lenses with great rebate deals, tons of equipment options. The photography world is full of products and equipment that drive us nuts trying to evaluate what we want. So I think keeping these 5 tips, and there's possibly more. If you have more, go ahead and comment them below, of how to keep your gas inside. And please understand, we're talking about gear acquisition syndrome, not holding your gas. Don't do that, you'll blow up. Thanks for watching.